Welcome everybody to this Writing and Media Center sponsored resume workshop. My name is Janessa Sherrod. I am the embedded consultant with the Veterans Center, and I'm really happy to share through this workshop video that's a little more tailored to the Veterans Center community. But this is just a short video to kind of introduce you to resumes and kind of show you what our workshops provide for you. If you have any more interest in receiving workshops or making appointments, we will talk about that throughout and at the end. So thank you for joining me today, guys. Just kind of a little workshop overview. We're going to go through the content, organization, and design of a resume, kind of give some general understanding of purposes and components. And I'm also added a little bit that is a little more specific to the military community. So to start off, what is a resume? Depending on where you are in your professional journey, you may or may not already have one. You may have one and it may not be quite polished as much as you would like. And there's always more polishing to be done to a resume throughout your time as a professional. But this is a document tailored to this individual job and employer that you're looking for. And it is designed to persuade this employer to invite you to an interview. So it's a very critical document. There's lots of things that are key to success in this document. And we're going to talk about a few of those today. So let's go over a couple of major content sections. We have the letterhead at the top. That is your name and contact information. We have our education, depending on where we're at in life. That may be your undergrad, they may be your high school. It could be further education experiences past that too. Experiences, here we have in this resume, we have work experience, and then we have leadership experience. There are other sections of experience that there could be as well, and that's all tailored to you as the young professional. And then some other things, scholarships, honors and awards and skills. You could put your dean's list kind of things down there. You could put down any special awards that you were provided. Just some major sections that can change quite a bit depending on who you are and what you're applying for. So here are some ideas on what to include in those content sections. So for education, you could talk specifically about a course that you took if that's helpful to the job you're applying to. You could talk about class projects that you led or were a part of, majors and minors, study abroad experience or abroad experience in general, scholarships and awards. And scholarships and awards could also go down in the bottom with the additional experiences. And then as far as experience goes, these can be your work and your internship experiences, field experience, military experience, depending on where you're at with that as well, teamwork, volunteering, research, leadership in general. That one can be quite expansive as well. And then for the other section, here are a few honors and awards, such as scholarships, dean's list, university honors program, things like that. And they could be less scholastic based as well. Skills that you have that kind of tie to those experiences that you talked about earlier to kind of prove like, okay, I did this job and the skill listed at the bottom here shows what I got out of it. And then you could have mentoring experience kind of related to any leadership that you've had, service experience, projects, athletics, hobbies, and any languages that you find yourself proficient in. There's a few things to include. The main idea is just to reflect on any experiences that you've had that relate to this job or program opportunity. And those are tailored to any job you have. So you have tons of experience, probably more than fit onto one resume, but we got to tailor it to that specific job. And just remember that confidence is something really important to include as well. Just speaking confidently, presenting yourself confidently. Because you have reason to be confident as a professional, wherever you're at in that journey. And employers like to see that. So this is obviously a recording. We can't have quite the same workshop experience as we could otherwise. But if you would like to take part in a little more interaction, go ahead and pause your video here and then write down 1 to 2 topics that you want to include in your resume. If you already have a resume, you can kind of just look over those topics and make sure that those topics are cohesive with what you want. But just go ahead and take a minute and we can hopefully get some work done by the end of this workshop. So as far as wording, there are quite a few rules here. that I'd like to share. And the first one is using action verbs. Action verbs, if you look at the bottom right underneath results there, facilitated is the action verb there. And we often start off our bullet points with those to show less of the where we were in that responsibility and more of what we did, how we did it. It's that kind of thing, and kind of skills that come out of it as well. So quantifying your results is also important. You can see the bottom there, 2 new employees over 6 months. That just shows more of what you got out of that responsibility. And don't be afraid to add more detail and be specific. Remember that you can just jot down whatever you have and then take away from there on. So don't be afraid to add as much detail as you feel necessary. And then kind of just talking more about your results and your responsibilities. If we look at that illustration at the bottom there, responsibilities, this person said, train new personnel. Clearly, it's more effective in the results section by saying facilitated, which is our action verb, training activities for 2 new employees over 6 months, quantifying there, to include equipment, orientation, and protocol training. And that is our detail and our specificity. So those are kind of some general resume rules. Some other rules that are a little more specific to the military community would just be to avoid military acronyms, such as replacing AFB with Air Force Base, finding a civilian equivalent to your military job title, such as replacing commanding officer with supervisor, and just anything else that you think you need to do to make this a little bit more civilian centered, depending on what you're applying to, I guess. But just kind of keeping in mind that your military experience has to translate in some way, and just being aware of that. So here are some lists of action verbs. We have management and leadership skills. We have communication and people skills. We have helping skills and accomplishment verbs. So these are just a few of what you could include. A lot of these are a little bit less cliche. So these are great to pull from if you are looking to make your bullet points stand out. And just like keeping in mind that, just because a word sounds good doesn't mean it's going to necessarily look good in that section. So just kind of do a quick Google search too if you feel the need to. There are tons of action verbs out there. Starting off your bullet points with action verbs makes a world of a difference, and really just kind of puts you out there as a more active employee. So we'll go ahead and do another little workshop experience here. So for your own resume or for those couple of bullet points that you wrote down earlier, think of a few action verbs that could apply to those qualifications. So go ahead and go back in the video if you want to see those action verbs that I just showed you. And feel free to pick a few if you want, and then we can kind of work on those and narrow that down to just one. Or maybe there's multiple bullet points that could go underneath that with multiple action verbs. So it's whatever you want to make it. I just want you to spend a couple minutes practicing those action verbs and figuring out if anything applies to your experience. So now that you've done that, let's talk quickly about resume organization. So kind of the first rule as far as just the order of things is reverse chronological. And that means the most recent job first. I've had a lot of students ask me before if the more important or relevant job should go at the top, and typically that's a no. But I do encourage students to ask people in their field if that matters that much to whoever they might be applying to. So keep in mind that your document can be tailored to yourself and to your own needs. But typically, I do recommend reverse chronological order. And then we have just kind of keeping it organized based on your functions and your skills. So keeping leadership experience separate from just community involvement in general, keeping it separated from work experience directly related to this field you're applying to. Tailor this organization to the document. So if you need to really highlight leadership and highlight less of, your high school job that you had, keep that in mind. Kind of put the more important sections first, and then just making sure that it's clear and easy to read. And we do have an example a couple slides down, kind of showing how visually design can make a huge difference in readability. So just a couple of consistency ideas here. Just keep in mind your location of information. Your dates relevant to each other, your like job titles relevant to each other, keeping all of that consistent and the same. Formatting your information the same way, which can get complicated in a document like this sometimes, depending if you're working off the template or from scratch, but just trying to keep that visual formatting the same. Wording of information as far as verb tenses go, not including too many of one word and not enough of another word. Then your hierarchy of information, kind of tailoring that to the job, putting the more relevant skills in front of the other ones. So just go ahead, and if you have your resume, you can take a look at that and just check for these couple of things, but these are just some general rules, good for everybody. Taking a look at the visual appeal, we have here on the left, the less visually appealing resume, and on the right, the better designed one. And a few things that are different there. You can see on the right, we have those horizontal lines underneath the headings, underneath education, experience, and skills and interests. We have our job titles bolded. So BYU McKay School PR is bolded. We have our dates all on the right-hand side. We have enough spacing in between lines to make that more readable and approachable to the eye. The contact information is all lined up on one line, so that takes up a little less space, but still accessible to the eye as well. So just some ideas there. Go ahead and compare yours to these examples if you would like. Just some ideas to make it a little more visually appealing. So we'll go ahead and do a little bit more workshopping. So on your computer or piece of paper, you can take a look at those past experiences that you had written down in our last workshopping session. Go ahead and add to those job titles. So talk about 2 to 3 bullet points that you think apply to this Java program that you are looking to apply to. And then identify which ones are more relevant to this kind of position. So kind of narrow that down if you can. And then remembering the ideas of quantifying, using action verbs, and including a lot of detail. So just keep in mind this can be a first draft. Just jot down whatever you have in your head. And there can be polishing in the future. So just be creative. Just get out your communication as you need to, and we can work from there. So if you already do have a resume, just go ahead and do these checks, seeing if your skills are transferable between the career paths, removing any military or field related jargon, and then making sure you're quantifying and including action verbs. And again, go back into the slides if you need to see those action verbs. So picking up from there, here just a quick couple of reminders about resumes. Just remember that they are not one size fits all. So it depends on your career field. It depends on where you've been in life. It depends on how creative you want to be with it. Just make it is a living document, and you are allowed to make it your own. So that while there are right and wrongs in resumes, there's also a lot of room for creativity and being yourself in them. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask anybody at the Writing Center, asking a peer, asking a mentor. Just try what you want to do and then tailor it from there. So resumes are also a tool to introduce yourself to potential hires. So just kind of keep in mind the criticalness of this document, how important it is to get your points across effectively from the beginning, since this is kind of the first check in the process to get an interview. Keeping it brief so that it's easy to go through. And then kind of keep in mind the relationship between cover letters and resumes. So cover letter will add upon those specific experiences in the resume that you really want to talk about. It allows you a little bit of an excuse to talk a little bit less in the resume about some things. And then keep in mind that the interview also adds upon both of those. So they kind of are related documents. They build on each other, to support one another. But just kind of remember that information can be put in different ones, and you can use that as a tool to your advantage. So that is all the content that I have for this resume workshop. Just have a few announcements as a Writing and Media Center employee for you guys. So one thing is that we have a writing group that we are hosting for the Veteran Center community. And these are just meetings for you to write, to work on whatever you want to work on, and just get some feedback from your peers and from your embedded consultant, which is me. So if you have interest in those, we would love to get those going. Feel free to shout out to us or complete the interest form that we should be sending. And then some future workshops that we are interested in hosting. Could be another one of these if you want more work on that with the resumes, but we would love to host either virtual or in person, depending on where the university is at with in-person activities. We can do some on cover letters, email communication, writing strategy and peer review, and creating digital portfolios. We have a lot of other workshops in addition to those two. So if you have a specific interest in anything, in either of these, or are curious about anything else, just reach out and we would be happy to serve your community. So I have just a couple slides here showing you how to make an appointment if you haven't done so with the Writing Center before. So again, you are more than welcome to make an appointment with me. My name is Janessa. But if your availability doesn't match up with mine, we have many great consultants who would be more than happy to help you as well. So the address is wmc.dso.ia-state. And it'll take you to our main page here. If you click on the top right here to schedule an appointment, and then that will take you to this secondary website, which is WC Online. You do have to make an account for this just because it's a separate scheduling system than the university. But just put in your email and your password, pick a location to choose from, and then you'll see all of our different locations, all of our different consultants with their availability. These white boxes are the available appointments. And then you can actually tailor it if you're looking for specific help on something. We do have consultants that are a little bit more comfortable with different things than others. So in general, most of us are comfortable with everything, but if you really need a specialty area, you can go ahead and tailor that down. Okay, and then you just fill out this little form. It just tells us about your work, tells us about you, what you need out of it, and just helps us to keep in contact with you. And then this is our contact information. So you can call either of those numbers. You can email us at writectr@ia-state. You can go to our website, follow us on social media. Again, we are more than happy to help you as students. We have that relationship with the Veterans Center and are more than happy to host even more events, share even more workshops or videos if that's what's necessary. So don't be afraid to reach out. We would love to get some interaction with you, form some relationships. And I really hope this workshop was helpful to you. So thank you for your time today, everybody.